Climate change, a global crisis that demands action. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time, affecting ecosystems, economies, and communities around the world. It is a phenomenon caused by the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere, primarily carbon dioxide, CO2, which traps heat from the sun and causes the planet's average temperature to rise. The effects of climate change are widespread, ranging from rising sea levels to more frequent and intense natural disasters, such as hurricanes, droughts, and wildfires. The scientific consensus is clear: climate change is real, and it is largely caused by human activity. The burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas releases large amounts of CO2 and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, exacerbating the natural greenhouse effect and leading to global warming. Other human activities, such as deforestation and agriculture, also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. The consequences of climate change are already being felt around the world. For example, rising sea levels are threatening low-lying areas, such as small island nations and coastal cities, with flooding and saltwater intrusion. Droughts and heat waves are leading to crop failures and food insecurity in many parts of the world. Extreme weather events, such as hurricanes and wildfires, are becoming more frequent and intense, causing billions of dollars in damage and claiming thousands of lives. The impacts of climate change are not distributed equally, with developing countries and vulnerable populations, such as the poor and marginalized, being the most affected. Climate change exacerbates existing inequalities and threatens to undo decades of progress in poverty reduction and sustainable development. To address the challenge of climate change, global action is needed. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, was established in 1992 to address the issue of climate change, and the Paris Agreement was adopted in 2015 to set out a framework for international cooperation in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to the impacts of climate change. The goal of the Paris Agreement is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. To achieve these goals, it is necessary to shift away from fossil fuels and toward renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydropower. This will require significant investments in clean energy infrastructure and technologies, as well as policies and regulations that incentivize the transition to a low-carbon economy. In addition, efforts to reduce deforestation and promote sustainable agriculture can help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote sustainable development. Individual actions also play a role in addressing climate change. Consumers can reduce their carbon footprint by making choices that reduce their energy use and greenhouse gas emissions, such as using public transportation, eating a plant-based diet, and conserving water. Businesses can adopt sustainable practices and invest in renewable energy to reduce their environmental impact. Governments can promote policies and regulations that incentivize sustainable practices and support the transition to a low-carbon economy. In conclusion, climate change is a global crisis that demands urgent action. The consequences of inaction are too severe to ignore, and the cost of inaction far outweighs the cost of action. We must work together as a global community to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, adapt to the impacts of climate change, and promote sustainable development. Only through collective action can we hope to create a sustainable